Have you ever thought about what's next for you? After you put in your years in your career, when you get to that point where it's the next thing, have you thought about your encore career? What happens in the next chapter? That's what we're talking about today on Women Winning Their Way. We are bringing in a leadership expert who's going to talk about how you are in control of writing your encore chapters and taking your life story to the next level in your way. So stay tuned. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way. Here at Women Winning Their Way, we talk about the importance of self care. With it being open enrollment for health insurance, we have partnered with Leela Smith, the owner of Etta and Associates, who is licensed in over 30 states, to make sure that all of us have the best coverage for ourselves and our families. I've been a client of Etta and Associates for over 2 years, and I feel 1000% confident that I'm covered for all of my basic needs, along with any unexpected surprises. Your health matters, so make sure that you are covered. Call or text Leela's team today and set yourself up with a free consultation to review your coverage options and to ensure that you and your business are protected. Welcome to another episode of Women Winning Their Way. I have an exciting guest with us today. We have Michelle Prince, and she and I are kindred spirits because we both love to talk about leadership and what it really means to lead with heart and, really just build collaboration. So, Michelle, I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, thanks for inviting me. And I love also that you talk about in unlocking your inner lioness. And that is so exciting. So thank
Yeah.
you for inviting me.
You bet. Well, we're going to dive into some really cool things to talk about. But before we do that, I always love to start the conversation off. We have the topic of the show and the title of the show, Women Winning Their Way. When you hear that, what does it mean to you when you hear women winning their way?
I find it empowering. I find it an inspirational message to be bold and take chances on yourself as much as you can. And in order to win your way, I have some examples, but you have to surround yourself with people who make you feel great about yourself. I think that's step one. And you deserve it. Step two, really believing in yourself and defining what winning means for yourself.
Yeah, I think that's so critical. And I was talking with somebody else earlier today. The way that we define success in our 20s is going to be very different in later chapters of our lives. And understanding that that's perfectly okay. But like you said, you've got to define what that is for you because we all get to do it differently. So,
and I think that's so true. And defining what that is at different stages, not just of our age, but also of our life. Defining what winning means in early motherhood, for example, is very different in later years. So, yes.
Absolutely true. So you mentioned this idea of taking chances. Tell me about a time in your life where you had to take a chance and maybe that threw you into a pivot and into that new chapter.
Well, I have to admit, I am a recovering perfectionist. So for a long time, I had trouble taking chances because of the risk of things going sideways. So I can really think of 4 pivotal moments that really changed the way I saw myself and was willing to accept the world around me, to take more chances. So there's this funny story. Back in 2001, I met this woman. She wrote a book. It was called Forget Perfect. And I was a young mother. My kids were 6 and I think not quite 1. My husband traveled a lot for work. Here I was trying to really move my career forward and not realizing I was really trying to be super mom, keeping it all together. And then I read this book called Forget Perfect. I saw her speak. She was humorous. She joked a lot about all the mistakes she probably made raising her kids. I felt like it was the permission I needed to allow myself to no longer be perfect. The perfect mom, the perfect wife, the perfect employee, the perfect daughter, the perfect friend. Because the reality of it is that no matter how hard you try, I wasn't going to be any of those things.
Mhm.
Being perfect is actually based on how others assess you.
Right.
And as a woman, sometimes we probably place a little too much importance on that.
I agree.
So as a self-declared recovering perfectionist now, I can
Mhm.
say just try to be your best and feel good about what you're getting done. As long as the kids
Absolutely.
are safe and fed and have some level of normalcy.
Mhm.
I used to joke that my kids had 3 weeks worth of clean underwear because God forbid I didn't get to do the laundry one week. I didn't want my kids to have to worry about wearing dirty underwear. So I just went out and bought more, right? There's ways
Absolutely.
to solve these problems.
Exactly. And I think, what you're saying is so powerful that we give ourselves the permission, to not be perfect because that just constrains us and it causes more stress. And I remember when I was writing my last book, which is a guidebook for working moms, I remember sitting down with my son, and he was about 16 at the time, saying, tell me in your words, what do you think makes a good mom? And he said things such as someone that really listens to me, someone that encourages me with my dreams. It was never food on the table at the exact time, a clean house, all these things that we kill ourselves and feel so guilty about.
Yes.
And that's what we judge ourselves. And like you said, we judge ourselves against these bars that other people have, and it doesn't serve us at all.
Yeah.
And so, giving yourself the grace and the permission to let that go, I think allows us to broaden ourselves, and again to really lean into other areas that are more important for us.
That's right. Whose definition are you following? That's the question. And whenever my mom, I don't know about your mom, but whenever she would question my decisions, I would say, Mom, there's a wide range of normal. So everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. So true. So, Michelle, one of the things that I would love about you when I was learning more about you is, you have a really great way of helping people into, different stages and different chapters of their world. And one of the things I know that you kind of talk about is this idea of there doesn't have to be that final curtain call. Just because you reach a certain age or a certain title or something, that doesn't have to be the end. And remembering that every end is also a new beginning. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I know there's people out there
Yeah.
that are going to be, if not right now, sometime in their world on the cusp of entering that new chapter.
Sure. Well, and there's so many stages we go through in life and different chapters in our lives. And so I think it's really empowering what you're doing and the writing you're doing about leading yourself and really defining what winning looks like. And that's how I got started writing, creating your encore career, because I personally designed and created my encore career, which is something I'm doing today after a 30-year corporate career. But also, the people I'm coaching are usually senior leaders, let's say, in their 50s, maybe early 60s, even, and deciding what to do next. Because the encore career is your third act, because it used to be traditional stages of education, work, retirement,
Mhm.
right? This has now been redefined as education, primary career, encore career, and then maybe full retirement, right? So it's that third act that was missing a little bit, in previous generations, but we're living longer. We are going to live longer. We're more vibrant. 60
Mhm.
is not old anymore.
It
I
really
hope not,
isn't.
because I'll be 60 this year.
Yeah, one of the things that always blows my mind is that TV show, The Golden Girls.
Yeah,
I look at that and I realize they were supposed to be in their early to mid 50s.
mid
And I'm
50s.
like, are you
Exactly.
kidding me? Because,
Exactly.
you're right.
Exactly.
I think, there's so many. I mean, I look at someone like Jane Fonda and,
Yes.
in their 80s, Tina Turner,
Yes.
in mid 80s. And I think you're absolutely right. And, we don't have that stigma that whatever you chose to do in your early mid 20s, you don't have to stay there forever.
No, no. You should actually, that's some of the advice I give to some of my younger clients is expect a squiggly career. And it's okay.
Mhm.
The jungle gym visual or just a squiggly line, you don't have to follow any particular path. But the beauty of the encore career is you get to design it.
Mhm.
And usually it's not defined by earnings because you're closer to retirement. Hopefully, depending on your financial situation, you've done a good job of saving. But that's another challenge, is that because we're living longer, our finances have to live with us
Right.
longer, right? And so the beauty of that semi-retirement or encore career means that you can delay taking some of your pension or
Mhm.
retirement benefits or whatever, and delaying that because you might continue to earn a little bit even into your 60s, and enjoy it,
Right.
because this third act should be based on what you want to do.
Mhm.
What are you it could be semi-retirement, or it could be full working, but in a totally different capacity.
Yeah.
Working has benefits: social, economic, emotional, health benefits. You'll continue to live more energetically and vibrant when you're doing something that you love.
Mhm.
And even people in their 40s, if you're feeling burnt out, it's probably because you're not loving what you're doing at work anymore. You're just continuing to, spend each day working in a job that isn't really feeding your soul.
Yeah.
So you can even start thinking about your encore career long before
Mhm.
you're in your 50s.
Absolutely. I would love to ask you this question. I don't think it's as much for us because we know we're going into our encore career and we've done that. However, in the public's eyes, I could see companies,
Mm.
responding with, why would I want to hire you? You're overqualified. Even though we know, we're going in a different direction, but they can't get that alignment. They still see the executive or whatever it was, not an entry level position. So, how can we talk
Mm.
with people and maybe to get them to understand, take a chance on me? Because one, I'm not old and not necessarily going to die tomorrow. And two, I realized I was overqualified in this field, but this is my encore career.
That's you just hit on so many different things, and I do talk in the book about ageism, because ageism is real.
Hmm.
Um, Someone who asked me their opinion about whether they should cover their gray, and I said, absolutely, if it's okay with you, because she's only 52 and she is completely gray, and it's going to, unfortunately, cause a challenge because of the assumptions that people make about older workers and ageism. So anyway, she's back to her other color, not her natural, was her natural color, and she looks so much younger, and
Hmm.
she's in job search. So it's really important that, that you're absolutely right. People don't assume you're at the tail end of
Hmm.
whatever your career is. But defining what you want to do and who you want to serve and what you want to do it for. If you're looking for a full-time job, there's a job search way of looking. And actually, today's job search is very different than even 5 or 8 years ago because of all the technology and the online applications. So for people I'm coaching who are in outplacement, for example, they haven't had to look for a job in
Hmm.
15 years, sometimes 20 years. They've never looked for a job. They stayed with the same company, which these days is a bit unheard of. I'm helping them actually job search, or for those people who can make that pivot and want to make that pivot, I'm helping them define their encore career. So it really depends on how you're defining that third act and what you want to do, if you're ready for it.
That's true. One of the things that was interesting to me from a personal perspective is my ego. And sometimes we have to put that aside. Even though I'm not necessarily transitioning into a new career, I am pivoting my focus of my speaking and everything. I'm not necessarily leaving the real estate realm, I'm just adding to it. And I really was like, oh, I've been a speaker since 2004. No problem. And I didn't realize it's different and it is going to be more difficult. And My ego took a huge hit. Do you know that less than 75% of people do not get enough sleep? I know for years that this was something I struggled with. I would fall into bed exhausted, only to then toss and turn all night long and wake up feeling unrested. Sleep is critical to our health, well being, and productivity. I am so excited to partner with Lisa Gibb and Sam V, who have crafted the perfect night's sleep. We cannot walk around like sleep zombies the next day. Lisa and her team at Sam V understand this. And with over 40 years of quality craftsmanship, Somvi sheet sets are designed to create a perfect environment to offer you a restful night's sleep. They use the highest quality fabrics and they have products that focus on temperature regulation. Ladies, you know what I mean about that. With their products that include mattress enhancers to sheet sets, lots of different kinds of unique pillows, comforters, blankets, and more. They literally have you covered and ready for a quality night's sleep. All the products with Somv will wrap you in luxury each and every night. The people at Somv are committed to one thing: a quality night's sleep. So connect with Lisa Gibb, your personal sleep consultant, and build your personal and luxury sleep package today. Connect with Lisa at www.lisagibb.somnvie.com. Invest in your rest with Somv today. So, how do you coach people through getting them to understand that just because they might have been a CEO or a CFO or at the height of their career over here, they have to have a little bit of humility along with it?
Such a great point. We as individuals oftentimes place so much of our worth and our value in who we are in our jobs, and
Mhm.
it's quite devastating when your job is eliminated. It's a real transition to go through that, and I work with people of all levels in outplacement as well, and helping them through getting over that feeling of I'm not employable, or I'm not worthy, or why was it me? And first of all, we talk about it's not personal. Your name was probably on a list, and your job was on a list, and it's less personal than it feels. But it's really about defining who you are in a way that really talks about less about the job and the company, and what value you brought.
Mhm.
So, for example, I spent 30 years in HR. I worked in leading companies. I was a senior vice president when I left corporate, leading organizational transformation efforts. I was somebody. I was looked up to.
Mhm.
And I was very proud of that because I worked really hard to get there. But the reality of it is, my passion has always been helping professionals, leaders, and organizations achieve transformational growth. Regardless of what my job was, that's what I was doing. And so when you define that, and then you can say, well, that value statement can be translated into something else. So
Mhm.
inspiring, love and joy in your work, or helping leaders be the best leaders they can be as a coach. So basically doing exactly what I was doing, but in a solopreneur way or a more entrepreneurial way.
Mhm.
It helps you realize that the value you're bringing is still there.
Yeah.
You've just redefined it.
Exactly. And you brought up this concept of, really defining what that looks like. And, it may be a full-time gig, it might be a part-time gig. Like for me, I don't even really see myself retiring. I could see myself later in life pulling back a little bit, being a little bit more choosy about how often I'm on the road. As long as I'm healthy and with it, I would love to be a speaker as long as I can. And I'm noticing, I see like almost two groups of people. I see a lot of people who were in the corporate world and are now going into this encore career doing more coaching and consulting because of the flexibility. They want to call their own shots. They want to kind of get out of the politicking of the corporation. I'm
Yeah.
also seeing a lot of people who are leaving the corporate world and just doing something mindless and fun because they just want to get out of the house and do something and have interaction with really no responsibility. Are those sort of kind of the two things that you're seeing as well?
There and there's so much in between as well. But
Mm.
you're absolutely right. Designing either a reduced work schedule, freelancing, consulting, gig work, fractional leadership roles, part-time job.
Mhm.
But you whatever you define what you want to do,
Yeah.
right? Some of my clients have started their own businesses. Some have chosen to volunteer, but using their professional level skills in a volunteer way.
Mhm.
Others have become authors. Some are working in childcare.
Yeah.
It's whatever you define it, with the onset of technology platforms. And I think just in the last 5 years, the acceptability of on-demand work and
Mhm.
flexible work. I mean, there's lots of companies that are hiring
Mhm.
on-demand workers, contract workers, than more than ever before. They need the flexible workforce, and lots of staffing companies are actually starting to do much more short-term project work, especially for professionals.
Oh, nice.
Uh, I have worked with some companies that are redefining work within their own company. And I love this kind of internal talent mobility way of retaining people who are towards the tail end of their career in a part-time capacity, maybe even mentoring some of the newer workers
That's a
or
great
having a
idea.
role on
Yeah.
some projects, not sitting in the same role, but a more flexible work
Yeah.
schedule. A lot of insurance companies who have long-term employees are offering this. And I would say too, this sounds terrible, but from a talent management perspective, if you have a manager or a leader who's been sitting in the same role for 15 or 20 years, in HR terms, we call that the pipeline blocker, right? Because
Yeah.
nobody else can get promoted as long as that person is still sitting in that role. So it also enables more growth and development within the company if people are able to move into and adapt to different roles in a more flexible way.
Yeah, that's great. You talk a lot about this concept of, defining. And I know that it's going to be different for all people, but are there maybe a few questions that you would encourage people to ask themselves as they're going through the process of defining it for themselves?
Yes, absolutely. And everyone's journey is unique.
Mhm.
And so, actually, very early in the book, I think it's the first or second chapter. It's really what do you want to do? This is the first time in your life you might be able to step back and really self-reflect and ask yourself, what do I love doing? What do people come to me for? What can I contribute back to society in a meaningful way
Yeah.
so that I get value from it, and so do other people. Really, it's self-reflection.
What I love about those questions is, and this just dawned on me, is when we've been in a role for so long, that often becomes our identity. And what I love about these questions is you're helping people again connect with who they are. They're no longer the HR, representative for this company, or they're no longer a nurse, a teacher. It's like,
Yeah,
who are you?
yeah,
And I think that that can be so helpful. Again, whether it's their job was eliminated and they have to get something new, or again, they're at the stage where they're like, I'm just ready to go. I think sometimes we've lost our identity. And what a beautiful time this is to reinvent the real us. I almost liken it to my dating stories. I'm at a stage, I'm 52, almost 53, where, on the dating scene, it's very different than when I was in my 20s. I'm not looking for someone to be a dad because I'm not having any more kids. I make my own money, so I don't need someone to be like support me. It's like I can find someone just for me.
That's
you know?
right. That's
And
right.
it's like the same kind of thing here. You can find what you
Mm.
want to do.
And I think because your audience, it's about women winning their way. I
Mhm.
have to be honest. When we were younger, I was certainly afraid of looking selfish
Mhm.
and wanting time for myself.
Oh, yeah.
But there was this epiphany moment where a neighbor of mine was going through a divorce, and she was telling my friend and I that her ex-husband was taking the kids every other weekend. And she was really looking forward to having that time to herself. And I thought, what a glorious arrangement.
Yep.
So I went home that night and I told my husband, I do not want a divorce, but I do want every other weekend off
Mhm.
so that I can have time to myself. And at first it sounded so selfish and I was almost embarrassed to ask, but he gladly said that would be no problem. And I
Mhm.
was so happy to have that guilt-free every other weekend. And I didn't always take advantage of it. Sometimes I'd get my nails done or my hair done but
Mhm.
it felt lighter because I
Yeah.
didn't have that regret or guilt of, oh, I should be doing something with the kids or something. I gave myself permission and he contributed to giving me permission for that guilt-free time, and it was life changing. It
Yeah.
really was.
And good for you for asking that. So I love this. And Michelle, I could talk to you all day because you have so much wisdom in there. And I know so many of us, again, that are going to be watching and following this, are at these stages where we're starting to think about that. So I think that, you're really giving a lot of food for thought for all of us. I know you have your book, and we're going to have in the show notes the link to get your book and everything. So tell us the name again of your book, and then tell us what else you're working on.
Sure. So the book is called Creating Your Encore Career: A Guide to Finding Purpose and Prosperity in Your Third Act. It's available on Amazon. Right now, you can download it for 99 cents. I really felt I wanted it to be accessible to anyone and everyone. So for a limited time, it's definitely available like that. And I'm carrying the torch, if you will. I still continue to coach leaders to be the best they can be. I love the corporate clients that I work with. Individuals hire me to help them advance their career. So I will continue to do that. But I'm just getting a lot of excitement around helping people make a pivot into their encore career. And that was really the inspiration of the book. I was working with so many people and they kept saying, you really should write a book about this. I don't think people realize that this is something out there and available. Um, and not to mention, there's 10,000 Americans turning 60 every day who might be thinking about it and don't have a coach. So the book is available. Sadly, not to end on a sad note, but there are over 10 million Americans who are over 65 working right now. Now, I don't know if they have to or they want to. I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of, like we said before, benefits to continuing to work, but financial insecurity during retirement is a
Mhm.
real issue
It is.
because we're living longer. Depending on what your financial situation is, you might find yourself having to work. And if that's the case, that's okay too. But try to find something that's meaningful and really define it to from your podcast perspective to win your way, right? Don't just feel like you're a victim to circumstance.
Exactly. You still have a lot that you can build on to write your own ticket. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Well, Michelle, thank you again. I love having you here. I really want people to, follow you and lean into you because, again, just so much wisdom that you have. Last question that I have for you is sitting where you sit today with everything that you've learned up to this point, how do you now define success for yourself?
Yeah. I define it very, very differently than I did even for the last 10, 15 years. I have the amazing pleasure to be semi retired at 60. I'm going to be a grandma soon. So I have that to look forward to. And really, it's as long as I continue to feel like I'm making a difference by coaching or through the book or through inspiring listeners like this, that to me is winning in my way. And I can like you, I can continue to do this for a long time, right?
Well, and forever because your book is now a legacy and it's out there forever. So fantastic. And you are making a difference. You made a difference just even in our short time today. So thank you so much for being a part of the show, Michelle.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Talking with Michelle has just made me just feel so excited for the future. Again, we can do this all on our terms. We don't have to just go off into the sunset unless that is what we want to do. And we have the ability to stop and pivot and start something completely new, whether we're in our 20s, 30s, 50s, 60s, it doesn't even matter. So, yeah, start thinking about that encore career, that third act that you want. I love the idea of just defining. I was talking with somebody the other day, and his idea was, I only want to work 25 hours. And I said, we can do that. We have to start with the vision. And I think that's what Michelle was talking about in the defining. Define not only what lights you up as far as the activities, how many hours do you want to work each week? Who is your ideal client? What type of people? Do you want to work with the public? Do you want to work more alone? So, again, you can start to create this and start to craft that vision and then start to let people know it. Again, having the idea of humility. You are starting over. So, give yourself some grace and know there probably is going to be a learning curve to this. So, allowing yourself time to do that. And I think, again, just knowing, when you're ready to go, you're still a butterfly. Spread those wings and fly in the direction that lifts you up. So I hope you got a lot of value from this. I hope it got you thinking about your next chapter and knowing that, again, whatever your future is, whatever chapters are left in your book, you get to write them. So make sure that you like, follow, rate, review. Let's help Michelle with her dream of delivering impact. So make sure to share this episode with at least three others who are out there and are maybe looking at how they want to expand their next chapter. I'm Clara Capano, and this is Women Winning Their Way.